Hey, Shabbat Shalom, everybody. It's good to be back here on another Saturday with you guys, on another Sabbath, and getting into the Word yet again. We're going to be jumping into Jeremiah chapter 34. We got to, of course, 33 last week and going to pick back up in 34 this week. Before we get started, I want to go ahead and give us a prayer. Father, Abba, we thank you for this day. We thank you for this opportunity to come together and serve you. We thank you for everything that you do for us. We pray that you be with us today and join us, guide us, be with us on our meditation on your word, and show us what you would have us, what you want us to see. We pray that everyone that joins us will walk away blessed and enriched in your word and in your spirit. In Yeshua's holy name, amen. I know Yahoo over there, he's got a mouthful eating some parfait his lovely wife's making for him. So I want to ask him how he's been. Kaylee, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
All right, guys. Well, if you're ready, I'm just going to jump on into Jeremiah 34 here. Let me go ahead and go to solo so you guys can see the scripture a little better. Oop, wrong solo. We don't want that mug. Here we go. Jeremiah chapter 34, verse 1. The word which came to Jermemiah from Yahuwah when Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army, and all the reigns of the earth under his rule, and all the people fought against Jerusalem and all its cities, saying, Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yisrael, Go and speak to Zidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, and say to him, Thus said Yahuwah, See, I am giving this city into the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and he shall burn it with fire. And you shall not escape out of his hand, but certainly be taken and given into his hand. And your eyes shall see the eyes of the sovereign of Babel, and his mouth shall speak with your mouth, and you shall go to Babel. But hear the word of Yahuwah, O Zidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda. Thus said Yahuwah concerning you, you shall not die by the sword. In peace you are to die, and as in the burnings of spices for your fathers, the former sovereigns who were before you, so they shall burn spices for you, and lament for you, saying, Alas, master, for I have spoken the word, declares Yahuwah. Oops, where's my mouse? There it is. Verse 6. And Jermemiah, the prophet, spoke all these words to Zidkiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, in Jerusalem. While the sovereign of Babel's army was fighting against Jerusalem and all the cities of Yehuda that were left, against Lachish and Azekah, for only these walled cities remained of the cities of Yehuda. The word which came to Jermemiah from Yahuwah, after sovereign Zidkiyahu had made a covenant with all the people who were at Jerusalem to proclaim release to them, that every one was to set free his male and female slave, the Hebrew man and the Hebrew woman. No one was to keep a Yehudi, his brother, enslaved. And when all the heads and all the people who had come into the covenant heard that each one was to set free his male and female slaves, and not keep them enslaved any longer, they obeyed and released them. But afterward they changed their minds and made the male and female slaves return, whom they had set free, and brought them into subjection as male and female slaves. Therefore the word of Yahuwah came to Jermemiah from Yahuwah, saying, verse 13, Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yisrael, I myself made a covenant with your fathers in the day that I brought them out of the land of Mitzrayim, out of the house of bondage, saying, At the end of 7 years, each one should set free his Hebrew brother, who has been sold to him. And when he has served you 6 years, you shall let him go free from you. But your fathers did not obey me, nor incline their ear. And you recently turned and did what was right in the eyes, each man proclaiming release to his neighbor. And you made a covenant before me in the house, which is called by my name. But you turned back and profaned my name, and each one of you took back his male and female slaves, whom he had set free at their pleasure, and brought them into subjection to be your male and female slaves. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah, you have not obeyed me in proclaiming release, each one to his brother and each one to his neighbor. See, I am proclaiming release to you, declares Yahuwah, to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the scarcity of food. I shall make you a horror to all the reigns of the earth. Verse 18. And I shall give the men who are transgressing my covenant, who have not established the words of the covenant which they have made before me, when they cut the calf in two and passed between the parts of it, the heads of Yehuda and the heads of Jerusalem, the eunuchs and the priest, and all the people of the land who passed between the parts of the calf. And I shall give them into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life, and their corpses shall be for food to the birds of the heavens and the beast of the earth. And I shall give Zidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, and his heads into the hand of their enemies, and into the hand of those who seek their life, and into the hand of the sovereign of Babel's army that is withdrawn from you. See, I am commanding, declares Yahuwah, and shall bring them back to the city, and they shall fight against it, and take it, and burn it with fire. And I shall make the cities of Yehuda a ruin without an habitation. That concludes 34.
Man, that's wild. I didn't know that. I thought they got kicked out for not keeping the land Sabbath, which they weren't doing, but yeah, they were keeping the slaves.
Yeah, that's bad, you know. You're supposed to honor your neighbors, and that's like, and your brothers. That's what all the commands hinge upon.
I don't know if they really got a whole lot of commentary on that, man.
Yeah, I was just
Kind
kind
of,
of.
Go ahead.
Oh no, you're good. It's kind of speaks for itself. Nothing
Yeah.
really to touch on.
Right. Definitely.
Right. All right. Chapter 35. Get another sip. Jeremiah chapter 35, verse 1. The word which came to Jermemiah from Yahuwah in the days of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshayahu, sovereign of Yehuda, saying, Go to the house of the Rechabites, and ye shall speak to them, and bring them into the house of Yahuwah, into one of the rooms, and give them wine to drink. And I took Yaazaniah, the son of Jermemiah, the son of Habatsaniah, and his brothers, and all his sons, and all the house of the Rechabites, and I brought them into the house of Yahuwah, into the room of the sons of Hanan, son of Yigdayahu, a man of Elohim, which was by the chamber of the heads, above the room of Maasayu, son of Shallum, the keeper of the door. And I set before the sons of the house of the Rechabites bowls filled with wine and cups. And I said to them, Drink wine. But they said, We do not drink wine, because Jonadab, the son of Rechab, our father, commanded us, saying, You shall not drink wine, neither you nor your sons forever. Chapter 35, verse 7. And do not build a house, neither sow weed, nor plant a vineyard, nor have any of these, but dwell in tents all your days, so that you live many days on the face of the land where you are sojourners. Excuse me. So we obeyed the voice of Jonadab, son of Rechab, our father, in all that he commanded us, to drink no wine all our days, we, our wives, our sons, and our daughters, nor to build ourselves houses to dwell in, and we have no vineyard, field, or seed, but we dwell in tents, and have obeyed and done and done according to all that Jonadab, our father, commanded us. And it came to be, when Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, came up into the land, that we said, Come, let us go to Jerusalem, for fear of the army of the Kasdim, and for fear of the army of the Arameans. So we dwell at Jerusalem. And the word of Yah came to Jermemiah, saying, Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, Go, and ye shall say to the men of Yehuda, and to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, Have you not received instruction to obey my words? Declares Yahuwah. Verse 14. The words of Jonadab, son of Rechab, which he commanded his sons not to drink wine, are established, and they have not drunk unto this day, for they have obeyed their father's command. And as for me, I have spoken to you, rising early and speaking, but you have not obeyed me. And I sent to you all my servants, the prophets, rising up early and sending them, saying, Turn each one from his evil way, and make good your deeds, and do not go after other mighty ones to serve them. And you shall dwell in the land which I have given you and your fathers. But you have not inclined your ear, nor obeyed me. The sons of Jonadab, son of Rechab, have indeed carried out the command of their father, which he commanded them. But this people has not obeyed me. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah, Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, See, I am bringing on Yehuda and all the inhabitants of Jerusalem all the evil I have pronounced against them, because I have spoken to them, but they did not listen, and I have called to them, but they did not answer. And Jermemiah said to the house of the Rechabites, Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, because you have obeyed the command of Jonadab your father, and guarded all his commands, and done according to all that he commanded you. Verse 19. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, of Jonadab, son of Rechab, there shall never cease to be a man to stand before me. Wow. Don't remember this story ever.
Jordan?
Mm-mm. We definitely had the tradition keeping, where traditions trump the laws of God.
Definitely. But, they did say it was coming from their father. I mean, at least they knew that, and that it wasn't of God. So they were still honoring their father, but I don't know. Interesting story. It's got me thinking. Man, the importance of having prophets sent to you and multiple times. You still won't hear. Are we in that spot, I wonder? Or if we ever get in that spot, are we aware of it? Yeah, interesting. He saw their honor for their father. Yes.
And that was pretty interesting, yeah.
I mean, ultimately, obeying your father is important, but what do you do, in a household? Do you listen to your father, or do you go against your father and try to go with God? That's a tricky spot.
Wasn't he kind of separating that group from the other people? Because it says, indeed, the sons of Jonadab, the son of sorry, I had a cough.
You're good.
Indeed, the sons of Jonadab, the son of Rechab, have observed the command of their father, which he commanded them. But this people has not listened to me. So, isn't he kind of putting a separation between the ones that were observing their father and then the people around them?
Mm-hmm.
Because like above that it says, turn now every man from his evil way and amend your deeds, and do not go after other gods to worship them. Then you shall dwell in the land which I have given to you and to your forefathers, but you have not inclined your ear or listened to me. But I don't know. I was standing up preparing some food, so maybe I missed something, but I see a difference.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff, guys.
You can tell I'm not a prophet because I like to sleep in.
Oh yeah, there we go. I've got the Yahoo's
I'm going back through
right
it,
now.
and yeah, he calls them out for following, like, in a positive light, for following and obeying their father's command. And then it's in verse 14 it says, but I have spoken to you again and again, yet you have not listened to me. So yeah, maybe he was just pointing out one of their honorable traits, but that they were still rejecting the prophets.
Some of these names aren't easy, y'all. I'm just going to pause when I get to the difficult ones and let JD come in and read it for me. All right. Jeremiah 36. You guys ready? I didn't miss anything in the chat, did I? Recubites. Britannica says Recubites are semi-nomadic shepherds who were against the worship of Baal. Okay.
Nice.
Okay. I'm going to jump into Jeremiah 36. And it came to be in the 4th year of Yahoiakim, son of Yoshayahu, sovereign of Yehuda, that this word came to Jeremiah from Yahuwah, saying, take a scroll and write on it all the words that I have spoken to you against Israel and against Yehuda and against all the nations from the day I spoke to you, from the days of Yoshayahu, even to this day. It could be that the house of Yehuda hears of all the evil which I plan to bring upon them, so that each one turns back from his evil way, and I shall pardon their crookedness and their sin. And Jeremiah called Barak, son of Neriah, and Baruch rather, and Baruch wrote on a scroll from the mouth of Jeremiah all the words of Yahuwah which he had spoken to him. And Jeremiah commanded Baruch, saying, I am shut up. I am unable to enter the house of Yahuwah. But you shall enter and shall read from the scroll which you have written from my mouth, the words of Yahuwah, in the hearing of the people in the house of Yahuwah on the day of fasting, and also Read them in the hearing of all Yehuda who come from their cities. Chapter 36, verse 7. It could be that they present their supplication before Yahuwah, and they turn back, each one from his evil way. For great is the displeasure and the wrath that Yahuwah has spoken against this people. And Baruch, son of Neriah, did according to all that Jermemiah the prophet commanded him, reading from the book the words of Yahuwah in the house of Yahuwah. And it came to be in the 5th year of Jehoiakim, son of Yoshiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 9th new moon, that they called a fast before Yahuwah to all the people in Jerusalem and to all the people who came from the cities of Yehuda to Jerusalem. And Baruch read from the book the words of Jermemiah in the house of Yahuwah, in the room of Jermemiah, son of Shaphan the scribe, in the upper courtyard at the entry of the new gate of the house of the in the entry of the new gate of the house of Yahuwah, in the hearing of all the people. And Micaiah, son of Jermemiah, son of Shaphan, heard all the words of Yahuwah from the book. And then he went down to the sovereign's house, and to the scribe's room, and there all the heads were sitting. Elishama the scribe, and Eliyahu, son of Shemayahu, and Elnathan, son of Akbor, and Garmayahu, son of Shaphan, and Zidkiyahu, son of Hananiah, and all the heads. And Micaiah told them all the words which he had heard from Baruch, read the book in the hearing of the people. Verse 14. Then all the heads sent Yehudi, son of Nethanyahu, son of Shalomyahu, son of Cushi, to Baruch, saying, Take in your hand the scroll from which you have read in the hearing of the people, and come. So Baruch, son of Neriah, took the scroll in his hand and came to them. And they said to him, Sit down, please, and read it in our hearing. Then Baruch read it in their hearing. And it came to be, when they had heard all the words, that they looked at each other in fear, and said to Baruch, We are certainly going to report all these words to the sovereign. And they asked Baruch, saying, Please explain to us, how did you write all these words? From his mouth? And Baruch answered them, From his mouth he spoke all these words to me, and I wrote them with ink in the book. Then the heads said to Baruch, Go, hide, you and Jermemiah, and let no one know where you are. And they went to the sovereign, into the court. But they put the scroll in the room of Elishama the scribe, and told all the words in the hearing of the sovereign. 21. The sovereign therefore sent Yehudi to bring the scroll, and he took it from the room of Elishama the scribe. And Yehudi read it in the hearing of the sovereign, and in the hearing of all the heads standing beside the sovereign. And the sovereign was sitting in the winter house in the 9th new moon, with a fire burning on the hearth before him. Then it came to be, when Yehudi had read 3 or 4 columns, that the sovereign cut it with the scribe's knife, and threw it into the fire that was on the hearth, until the entire scroll was burned in the fire that was on the hearth. Yet the sovereign and all his servants who heard all these words were not afraid, nor did they tear their garments. Moreover, Elnathan and Eliyahu and Jermemiah pleaded with the sovereign not to burn the scroll, but he did not listen to them. And the sovereign commanded Jerahmeel, son of the sovereign, and Sarayahu, son of Azriel, and Shelemiyahu, son of Abdiel, to seize Baruch, the scribe, and Jermemiah the prophet, but Yahuwah had hid them. 27. And after the sovereign had burned the scroll with the words which Baruch had written from the mouth of Jermemiah, the word of Yahuwah came to Jermemiah, saying, Take another scroll, and write on it all the former words that were in the first scroll, which Jehoiakim, the sovereign of Yehuda, has burned. And say to Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, Thus said Yahuwah, You have burned this scroll, saying, Why have you written it in the excuse me, why have you written it? Why have you written in it that the sovereign of Babel is certainly coming to destroy this land and cause man and beast to cease from here? Therefore, thus said Yahuwah concerning Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, he shall have no one to sit on the throne of David, and his dead body is to be thrown out to the heat of the day and to the frost of the night. And I shall punish him and his seed and the servants for their crookedness, and I shall bring on them and on the inhabitants of Jerusalem and on the men of Yehuda all the evil I have spoken against them, but they did not listen. So Jermemiah took another scroll and gave it to Baruch the scribe, son of Neriah, who wrote on it from the mouth of Jermemiah all the words of the book which Jehoiakim, sovereign of Yehuda, had burned in the fire, and many similar words were added to them. Talk about tenacity.
Right? That's wild. Some arrogance. Just cut up a letter and throw it in the fire. But it had to have been pretty impressive to see him, like write it all from memory or whatever.
Oops. That's what I wanted. We should read Baruch after Jeremiah. Maybe not a bad idea.
If we read first Baruch, we have to read the second one too. I'm down.
Yeah, we should have it in one of our extra ones.
I should have it. Let's see here. If I go to, where is it?
Probably the 1611. Or yeah, KG. Yeah, that one's definitely got the Apocrypha.
Bam, there it is. Yeah, totally doable.
Second Baruch's not in the 1611. Are you able to access the second Baruch?
Even if I had to find it on the internet and screen share it versus eSword, that would be fine. I don't think I have that in any version that I have here on eSword.
It's one of my favorite books, like outside of the Bible. The canon.
Also, I do have the Britain Septuagint, and it's got the Apocrypha in it. So I've got two different versions. The King James Apocrypha and the 1611, I guess, has it, as well as my Septuagint. You guys got anything on 36 anymore?
You did a really good job with the names.
Yeah. Thanks, buddy. If you just read through it confidently, like you know what you're saying, nobody will ever question it. So,
yep, that's the secret.
the 9th new moon. Just making sure there wasn't anything I wanted to ask about or hit on.
Does it seem like there's unnamed prophets? Like, like Jeremiah, he tells them, or God says, I've sent my prophets, plural, rising early and sending them to you. And we hear about, you killed my servants, the prophets. And so, yeah, it just seems like there's a lot more prophets than the ones that we actually hear about, like.
I'd say that's true.
Jeremiah seems pretty early on in the chronology. And apparently there was a lot more people, or at least, 2 people, I guess, before Jeremiah. But
In
yeah,
the story of Ahaz and Elijah, doesn't Elijah at one point say, and it's just me here alone, everybody else has been taken, and God tells him that he's hidden 400 other prophets.
yeah. It's something like that. I don't remember if it's Elijah or the other one, but yeah, it's one of them for sure. But anyway, it was just an interesting thought I had. You know, like Jeremiah is kind of the first prophet I can think of,
Mm-hmm.
and then Jeremiah's saying, no, there was definitely prophets before me. You didn't listen to them either.
I mean, what is a prophet? How do you define that biblically? Is it somebody
Isn't
that
it
just
someone that speaks the words of the Lord?
That's what I was going to say, and I think you're the one that told me that definition that I was about to read. But yeah, um, so aren't we all in a sense prophets? Anyone, like especially me, not trying to call myself a prophet. Don't get me wrong, but just reading God, with my friends here in a fellowship capacity. I don't
Yeah,
know
I kind of think that our time frame, we think of a prophet, we think of someone that's able to predict the future. But
exactly.
I think that prophets are just people that are in tune and in line with God's word, and it should never deviate from that. And so, what I've noticed throughout my walk, especially when I was a baby in the walk, you'd find these people and they would prophesy these things that would come to pass, but yet they were never talking about the day of the Lord or the New Jerusalem. They were talking about, I don't know, more current things. And I think that pretty much any prophet, they're going to talk about the second coming of Yeshua, the day of the Lord, repentance, and the New Jerusalem.
Preach it, prophetess Kaylee.
All right, that was some fire. I was enjoying that.
So I guess with your question, more than one prophet. I mean, I guess a lot of people are prophets, but there's more notable ones, I suppose. Kind of where I'm landing here. Okay, anything else before we get into 37? Don't want to go too quick and cut somebody off.
Go ahead.
Jeremiah warns Zedekiah. And sovereign Sidkiyahu, sons of Yoshayahu, reigned instead of Kanyahu, son of Jehoiakim, whom Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, set up to reign in the land of Yehuda. But neither he nor his servants, nor the people of the land, had listened to the words of Yahuwah, which he spoke by the prophet Jeremiah. And Zidkiyahu, the sovereign, sent Yehukal, son of Shalemiah, and the priest Zephaniah, son of Maaseiah, to the prophet Jeremiah, saying, Please pray to Yahuwah, our Elohim, for us. Now, Jeremiah was still coming and going among the people, for they had not yet put him in prison. Meanwhile, Pharaoh's army had set out from Mitzrayim, and when the Kasdim, who were besieging Jerusalem, heard news of them, they withdrew from Jerusalem. And the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah the prophet, saying, saying, Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Yisrael, say this to the sovereign of Yehuda, who sent you to me to inquire of me. See, Pharaoh's army which has come up to help you, shall turn back to Mitzrayim, to their own land. Verse 8. And the Kasdim shall return and fight against the city, and take it, and burn it with fire. Thus said Yahuwah, do not deceive yourselves, saying, the Kasdim shall go away from us, for they do not go. For though you had stricken the entire army of the Kasdim, who are fighting against you, and there remained only wounded men among them, they would get up, each man in his tent, and burn the city with fire. And it came to be, when the army of the Kasdim left the siege of Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, that Jermemiah went out of Jerusalem to go into the land of Benjamin to receive his portion there in the midst of the people. And it came to be, as he was in the gate of Benjamin, a master of the guard was there, whose name was Jeriah, son of Shelemiah, son of Hananiah, and he seized Jermemiah the prophet, saying, you're deserting to the Kasdim. But Jermemiah said, it is a lie. I am not deserting to the Kasdim. But he did not listen to him. And Jeriah seized Jermemiah and brought him to the heads. And the heads were wroth with Jermemiah and struck him and put him in prison in the house of Jehonathan the scribe. For they had made that for a prison. When Jermemiah had entered into the dungeon and into the cells, then Jermemiah remained there many days. Verse 17. And Zidkiyahu the sovereign sent and took him out. And the sovereign asked him secretly in his house and said, is there any word from Yahuwah? And Jermemiah said, there is. And he said, you are given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel. And Jermemiah said to Zidkiyahu the sovereign, what have I sinned against you and against your servants and against this people, that you have put me in prison? Where are your prophets who prophesied to you, saying, the sovereign of Babel is not coming against you or against this land? But now, please hear, O my master the sovereign. Please let my petition be accepted before you, and do not make me return to the house of Jehonathan the scribe, lest I die there. Zidkiyahu, the sovereign then, commanded Jermemiah to be placed in the court of the guard, that they should give him daily a piece of bread from the baker's street, until all the bread in the city was gone. So Jermemiah remained in the court of the guard.
Oh my goodness. So, whenever you're reading the first part, the first section, the king had obviously sent word to Egypt and was like asking for help. But then at the same time, he went to Jeremiah and was like, hey, Jeremiah, can you pray for us? And then Yah, lets them get the news that Egypt is coming. And so their enemy backs off. So they think that their plan has worked. And then Yah's like, psych, it didn't work. The Egyptians are actually going to turn around and go home, and your enemies are actually going to come back. And even if I did let your plan work out and let you, kill most of them and there was only wounded left, the wounded would get back up and they'd burn the city down anyways. He's just like really rubbing salt in the wound, I guess, if you will. That's how I saw it anyway.
If God doesn't have a great personality, then wow.
He has an excellent sense of humor.
And I'm going to put boils on their butts. You tell me that God doesn't have a sense of humor. It's a different story, but anyways.
And a piece of bread a day. I wonder how big that piece of bread was.
Yeah, right.
Do you think it was like a foot long, or do you think it was like one of those like 3 foot long French baguettes, or Yeah, right.
How's my connection been today? Have I been cutting out to anybody out there in internet land?
No, seems to be really good.
Good.
No, like speeding up and slowing down, whatever that is.
Right?
Compression.
No garble. Okay.
Way better with the names. I was waiting for you to fail on one of the verses. I was like, oh, he's definitely gonna get this one wrong. I'm gonna laugh so hard. On mute, obviously, but yeah.
Yep, I'll mute. You better not laugh at me in front of all of my friends publicly. Gosh.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was now, but yeah.
Yeah,
Excellent
Ryan,
work. Excellent work.
thanks. Yeah, Ryan said 37-17 looks hard. I was like, yeah, definitely. I think there's been a couple of harder ones where it was just full of names I'd never read before. It was great.
Right, yeah, yeah.
And yeah, it probably would be easier if I switched to King James, but I don't know, would it?
Ooh. Lamppost is betting that you practiced. That's what he was doing last night.
You think I would, and a good person probably would or should, but I kind of like on the fly.
The Ross show is so much more fun.
Mm-hmm. All right. We need more commentary, or we're going to end Jeremiah today, guys.
Yeah, I mean,
I know when it speaks for itself.
it really does. I mean, I don't know what else to add to it. I mean, like,
Hope you're not adding anything to his
yeah.
word.
I mean,
Bro.
obviously, they didn't trust God because they sent word to Egypt. But yeah, I just thought that was super funny. He's like, lets them think that their plan's gonna work. They just kind of do a double take. Like, oh, Egypt turned around. Maybe we will come back. That's great. Because like, it's not like they got a phone call from Egypt and was like, oh, we're on our way. Like, no, like a messenger had to come in and give them a message, and then like the Casdim had to leave, but then they, had a scout watching the Egyptian army, and then he saw the Egyptian army turned around, and so the scout went back to his army. So I mean, this had to have been played out over like a week or two. I have no idea how long it takes to run, but just anyway, it's like it wasn't like it was just a day-long process. Like, yeah, I can't imagine.
Wow. Didn't think about it like that.
Yeah. And yeah, I mean, like salt can heal a wound, but it really does burn.
Like there's an expression, pouring salt in the wound.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, Jeremy, it's got your future predicted here. Cast into the cistern.
Oof.
Sip of water here and continue in 38 unless you guys got anything. Okay, Jeremiah chapter 38, verse 1. And Shaphat son of Mattan, and Gadol son of Pashur, and Ukal son of Shalom and Pashur son of Malchiah heard the words which Jeremiah had spoken to all the people, saying, Thus said Yahuwah, He who remains in this city shall die by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. But whoever goes over to the Kasdim shall live, and his life shall be as a prize to him, and he shall live. Thus said Yahuwah, This city is certainly given into the hand of the sovereign of Babel's army, and he shall take it. Then the head said to the sovereign, Please, let this man be put to death, because he is weakening the hands of the men of battle, who are left in the city, in the hands of all the people, by speaking such words to them. For this man does not seek the peace of this people, but the evil. And Zidkiyahu the sovereign said, Look, he is in your hand, for the sovereign is unable to do any matter against you. Verse 6. And they took Jermemiah and threw him into the dungeon of Malchiyahu, the sovereign's son, which was in the court of the guard. And they let Jermemiah down with ropes, and in the dungeon there was no water, but mud. So Jermemiah sank in the mud. And Ebed-Melech the Cushite, one of the eunuchs, who was in the sovereign's house, heard that they had put Jermemiah in the dungeon. And the sovereign was sitting at the gate of Benjamin. And Ebed-Melech came from the sovereign's house and spoke to the sovereign, saying, My master, the sovereign, these men have done evil in all that they have done to Jermemiah the prophet, whom they have thrown into the dungeon, and he is likely to die from hunger in the place where he is. There is no more bread in the city. And the sovereign commanded Ebed-Melech the Cushite, saying, Take 30 men from here with you, and lift Jermemiah the prophet out of the dungeon before he dies. So Ebed-Melech took the men with him and went into the house of the sovereign, under the treasury, and took old clothes and old rags from there, and let them down by ropes into the dungeon to Jermemiah. And Ebed-Melech the Cushite said to Jermemiah, Please put these old clothes and rags under your armpits, under the ropes. And Jermemiah did so. Verse 13. And they pulled Jermemiah up with the ropes and lifted him out of the dungeon, and Jermemiah remained in the court of the guard. Then Zidkiyahu the sovereign sent and had Jermemiah the prophet brought to him at the third entrance of the house of Yahuwah. And the sovereign said to Jermemiah, I am asking you a matter. Do not hide a matter from me. And Jermemiah said to Zidkiyahu, If I declare it to you, shall you not put me to death? And if I give you advice, you shall not listen to me. But Zidkiyahu the sovereign swore secretly to Jermemiah, saying, As Yahuwah lives, who made us to this life, I do not put you to death, nor do I give you into the hand of these men who seek your life. And Jermemiah said to Zidkiyahu, Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, if you do indeed surrender to the heads of the sovereign of Babel, then your being shall live, and the city not be burned with fire, and you and your house shall live. Verse 18. But if you do not surrender to the heads of the sovereign of Babel, then this city shall be given into the hand of the Kasdim, and they shall burn it with fire, and you shall not escape from their hand. Then Zidkiyahu, the sovereign, said to Jermemiah, I am afraid of the Yehudim who have gone over to the Kasdim, lest they give me into their land, and they maltreat me. But Jermemiah said, They shall not hand you over. Please, obey the voice of Yahuwah, which I speak to you, and let it be well with you, and your life be spared. But if you refuse to surrender, this is the word that Yahuwah has shown me. Then see, all the women who are left in the sovereign of Yehudah's house shall be surrendered to the heads of the sovereign of Babel. And see, they are saying, Your close friends have set upon you and prevailed against you. Your feet have sunk in the mire. They have turned away again. They are going to surrender all your wives and the children to the Kasdim, and you yourself shall not escape from their hand, but be taken by the hand of the sovereign of Babel, and this city shall be burned with fire. Then Zidkiyahu said to Jermemiah, Let no one know of these words, and you shall not die. Verse 25. But if the heads hear that I have spoken with you, and they come to you and say to you, Declare to us now what you have said to the sovereign, and also what the sovereign said to you, do not hide it from us, and we do not put you to death, then you shall say to them, I presented my petition before the sovereign, not to send me back to the house of Jonathan to die there. And all the heads came to Jermemiah and asked him, and he informed them according to all these words that the sovereign had commanded. And they said no more to him, for the matter was not heard. So Jermemiah remained in the court of the guard until the day that Jerusalem was taken. And he was there when Jerusalem was taken. Poor Jeremiah.
Right? Can you imagine being in a hole that it takes 30 people to get you out of? Or maybe I don't know. That's just wild. Maybe they were guarding the hole. I don't know.
Something.
But yeah.
Just take a couple of men to lift a dude up out of a hole with a rope, you know? Maybe
I
four
mean,
guys
one would
to make it
think.
easy.
Yeah. I don't know.
If you don't listen, back to that conditionalism again.
Right? I thought it was funny when he said, if I answer your question, you're just gonna have me put to death. And if I give you advice, you're not gonna listen to me anyways.
Right?
Yeah. And that's after being pulled out of a hole. I guess I'd be a little angered at that point in time. Definitely wouldn't be in the best mood, that's for sure. I might have come off a little sarcastic like that too.
It's like if you do, good things happen. If you don't, bad things happen. Rinse and repeat. That's the Bible.
Right.
I guess kind of in a way it all does come down to blessings and curses. The curse of the law if you don't obey it, and the blessings of it if you do.
I'm gonna have to grab some more coffee.
All right. I'm just skimming through here again, see if there's anything I wanted to talk about.
I don't know who this Ebed-Melech guy is, or
Yeah.
why he saved Jeremiah. I thought that was interesting.
Just
Cushite. Just a eunuch feeling sorry for the guy in the dungeon.
Is that who Ebed-Melech is as a eunuch?
Yeah.
I missed that, I guess. But yeah, why 30 men? It has to be to, like, you know, like you said, to guard the cistern or to be on lookout. Oh yeah, one of the eunuchs.
Yeah, and I don't know where the gate of Benjamin is, so don't know what that has in relation to the story.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he was a Benjamite.
All right, we're going to be going to chapter 39, and we've got a total of 52 before we're through with Jeremiah. You guys can see here, not a whole lot. Done pretty good. Okay, the fall of Jerusalem. Jeremiah chapter 39. In the 9th year of Zidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, in the 10th new moon, Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, and all his army came against Jerusalem and besieged it. In the 11th year of Zidkiyahu, in the 4th new moon, on the 9th day of the new moon, the city was broken into. All the heads of the sovereign of Babel came in and sat in the middle gate, Nergal-Sharezer, Samgar-Nebo, Sarsekim, Rabsaris, Nergal-Sarezer, Rabmag, and all the rest of the heads of the sovereign of Babel. And it came to be, when Zidkiyahu, the sovereign of Yehuda, and all the men of battle saw them, they fled and left the city by night, by way of the sovereign's garden, by the gate between the two walls. And he went out toward the desert plain. But the army of the Kasdim pursued them and overtook Zidkiyahu in the desert plains of Jericho. And they captured him and brought him up to Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, to Riblah in the land of Hamath, where he spoke judgment on them. Excuse me. And the sovereign of Babel slew the sons of Zidkiyahu before his eyes in Riblah. The sovereign of Babel also slew all the nobles of Yehuda. Wow. Verse 7. And he put out the eyes of Zidkiyahu and bound him with bronze shackles to bring him to Babel. And the Kasdim burned the house of the sovereign and the houses of the people with fire, and they broke down the walls of Jerusalem. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, exiled to Babel the remnant of the people who remained in the city, and those who defected to him, with the rest of the people who were left. But Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, left in the land of Yehuda the poor people who had not whatever, and gave them vineyards and fields on the same day. Verse 11. And Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, gave a command concerning Jermemiah to Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, saying, Take him and look after him, and do no harm whatsoever to him, but do to him even as he shall speak to you. And Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, and Nebuchadnezzar, the Rabsaris, Nergal-Sharezer, the Rabmag, and the sovereign of the Babel's chief officers sent, and had Jermemiah taken from the court of the guard, and gave him to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, to take him home. And he dwelt among the people. And the word of Yahuwah had come to Jermemiah while he was shut up in the court of the guard, saying, Go, and ye shall speak to Ebed-Melech the Cushite, saying, Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, See, I am bringing my words upon the city for evil and not for good, and they shall be before you in that day. And I shall deliver you in that day, declares Yahuwah, so that you are not given into the hand of the men of whom you are afraid. For I shall rescue you, and you shall not fall by the sword, but your life shall be as a prize to you. For you have to put your trust in me, declares Yahuwah.
So verse 10 shocked me. I was not prepared to hear that at all.
Which part of it, I guess?
Like the poor people, he was like the guy that is in charge of gathering up all the slaves. He was just like, oh, well, these guys are already slaves. You know what? I'm just going to set them free and give them all this stuff. Like, you think that the conquering army is going to be, you know, pretty terrible. And I mean, I guess they kind of were to the people that deserved it. But yeah, I was just not prepared for him to be like, hey, yeah, you poor guys. Yeah, this is all your stuff now.
That little bit of grace from the army,
Right, yeah.
it's overtaking you. Yeah, right.
And then it kind of sounds like Nebuchadnezzar went and grabbed the king and then came back to the city to Jeremiah. So, like, kind of want to hear that story. Like, I mean, he doesn't even talk to the dude, and he's just like, yeah, that guy over there, take him, don't do anything to him, and then listen to whatever he tells you to do. Like, where did that come from? You know, like, did the king tell him? Did Nebuchadnezzar get a message from
Hmm.
somebody? You know, like, did he just see a poster posted in town? You know, like, how did
Definitely
we
a
get
TikTok.
here? So many questions.
It was definitely a TikTok.
That's probably what it was. But yeah, and then back to the Cushite that saved him, gave him some good news. And yeah, the king had his eyes taken out, man. Ooh.
Oof.
And probably had to walk back to Babylon.
It was intense.
Oh yeah, and the last thing he saw was all of his kids getting murdered in front of him. That's wild, man. Freaking brutal.
Goes to say, God may refine you and put a little heat on you, but if he comes to save you, he's going to come with all of his might and vengeful force. If you're a
Definitely
faithful
isn't
follower.
going to be pretty.
Mm-hmm. Kaylee, you're awfully quiet today. You distracted over there? Calling her out. All right, I'm going to jump on into chapter 40. The word that came to Jermemiah from Yahuwah after Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, had let him go from Ramah, when he had taken him bound in chains among all the nations from Jerusalem and Yehuda, who were being exiled to Babel. And the chief of the guard took Jermemiah and said to him, Yahuwah your Elohim has spoken this evil on this place, and Yahuwah has brought it on, and is done. And he has said, because you have sinned against Yahuwah and did not obey his voice, therefore this matter has come upon you. And now see, I loosen you today from the chains that were on your hand. If it seems good to you to come with me to Babel, come, and I shall look after you. But if it seems wrong for you to come with me to Babel, remain here. See, all the land is before you. Go wherever it seems good and right for you to go. And before he replied, Nebuzaradan said, or go back to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, whom the sovereign of Babel has made governor over the cities of Yehuda, and dwell with him among the people, or go wherever it seems right for you to go. And the chief of the guard gave him provisions and a gift, and let him go. Verse 6. So Jermemiah went to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, to Mitzpah, and dwelt with him among the people who were left in the land. And all the commanders of the armies who were in the fields, they and their men, heard that the sovereign of Babel had made Gedaliah, son of Ahakim, governor in the land, and had put him in charge of the men and women and children, and the poor of the land who had not been exiled to Babel. So they came to Gedaliah at Mitzpah, Ishmael the son of Nethanyahu, and Johanan, and Jonathan the sons of Kareah, and Sariah the son of Tanhumeth, and the sons of Ophi the Netophathite, and Yezanyahu the son of Maakathite, they and their men. And Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, swore to them and their men, saying, Do not be afraid of serving the Kasdim. Dwell in the land, and serve the sovereign of Babel, and it shall be well with you. And I, see, am dwelling at Mitzpah, to serve the Kasdim who come to us. But you, gather wine and summer fruit and oil, and put them in your vessels, and dwell in your cities which you have taken. Also, when all the Yehudim who were in Moab, and among all the Ammonites, and in Edom, and who were in all the lands, heard that the sovereign of Babel had left a remnant of Yehuda, and that he had set them over the Gedaliah, and he had set them over them Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan. I want to read verse 11 over. Verse 11. Also, when all the Yehudim who were in Moab, and among all the Ammonites, and in Edom, and who were in all the lands, heard that the sovereign of Babel had left a remnant of Yehuda, and that he had set over them Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, then all the Yehudim returned from their places where they had been driven, and came to the land of Yehuda, to Gedaliah at Mitzpah, and gathered wine and summer fruit in large quantities. And Johanan, son of Kareah, and all the commanders of the army that were in the fields came to Gedaliah at Mitzpah. And they said to him, Do you certainly know what Baalis, sovereign of the Ammonites, has sent Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, to strike you, a being? But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, would not believe them. Then Johanan, son of Kareah, spoke secretly to Gedaliah in Mitzpah, saying, Please let me go and strike Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, without anyone knowing it. Why should he murder you, and so let all the Yehudim who are gathered to you be scattered, and the remnant in Yehuda perish? But Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, said to Johanan, son of Kareah, Do not do this matter, for what you are saying about Ishmael is not true.
Man, we got some like Days of Our Lives drama going on here.
That's funny. Getting juicy. Secret murder plots behind backs and
Right?
like sands through the hourglass.
Wish I knew some of these characters a little better. Because the one guy gave all of the poor people the vineyards and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know if that would be who the new governor is. It seems like the governor got put in by the king, so it seems like it would be a different person.
Hmm.
But he obviously is talking to some of the people that got given the vineyards because he tells them to, plant and harvest and all that. So, yeah, well, that was interesting. And then, yeah, I did not know that like brought people in from all over, like the people from Edom and Moab and stuff like that. I didn't realize that there had already been exiles, I guess, at this point. I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know where those people come from, I guess.
Guess there's been exiles since Genesis, when Adam and Eve were exiled from the garden.
Oh yeah, the word came to Jeremiah. I think Mike was trying to hint that that was maybe Jesus. I don't know.
Well, Mike capitalized the W in word, and the scripture doesn't. So Mike's adding to the word.
Mm.
Just kidding, Mike. Just messing. It makes me wonder. Or at least done to,
Yeah, they just kind of expect us to know what that means, I guess. Maybe we should read the Bible in chronological order sometime, and maybe we'll figure it out.
See here, Mike. The Sefer has the in word capitalized. Interesting. Yeah, sometimes when I'm reading, I don't fully comprehend it, so it kind of takes me recapping for it to really sink in. Excellent. Shalom, Sophie, and thanks for the compliments. I appreciate it. Let's see here. We are at ended 40, and we'll be picking up at 41. Do you guys want to truck on through, or it's only 1:15? Yeah, let's keep going. Unless you guys want to stop.
I'm good either way. Kaylee said she was listening. She's got a headache coming on, so probably won't
Okie
be talking
dokie.
much.
Okie dokie. Well, let's keep on keeping. Keep on keeping. Get a sip of water.
And Jeremiah even got an offer to go live with the captain. You know, he's like, he sets him free, and he's like, yeah, you can come back with me to Babylon, and I'll keep an eye on you, or you can go and do your own thing. I hope it works out for you.
Or just whatever you want to do.
All right, like yeah, just that's
If it feels
freaking
good,
wild.
do it. Yeah. Hi, Miss Sherry.
Like no, I feel like none of the times. Well, I don't know. Maybe I won't say. I don't know. But yeah, like I mean, most of the time when people go to war, they aren't like, oh yeah, then I found this super cool dude over there, and he was really important. And, yeah, I don't know. It's just wild.
Not the things that normally happen.
Yeah.
Normally, like completely put under the ban.
But yeah, don't let me stop you. Go ahead.
Yep, you can come with me. If not, that's cool. Go wherever it seems right. Great. $41. Here we come. Jeremiah chapter 41, verse 1. And in the 7th new moon, it came to be that Ishmael, son of Nathaniah, son of Elishama, of the royal seed, and of the officers of the officers of the sovereign came with 10 men to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, at Mizpah, while they ate bread together there in Mizpah. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, and the 10 men who were with him arose and struck Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, with the sword, and killed him, whom the sovereign of Babel had made governor over the land. There you go, Deezer. And Ishmael struck all the Yehudim who were with him, with Gedaliah at Mizpah, and the Kasdim who were found there, the men of battle. And it came to be on the second day after he had killed Gedaliah, when no one yet knew it, that men came from Shechem, from Shiloh, and from Shamaron, 80 men with their beards shaved and their garments torn, having cut themselves, with offerings and incense in their hand, to bring them to the house of Yahuwah. And Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, went out from Mitzpah to meet them, weeping as he walked along. And it came to be, as he met them, that he said to them, "Come to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam." And it came to be, when they came inside the city, that Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, slew them, throwing them into a pit, he and the men who were with him. But 10 men were found among them who said to Ishmael, "Do not kill us, for we have wheat and barley and oil and honey hidden in the field." So he held back and did not kill them from among their brothers. And the pit into which Ishmael had thrown all the corpses of the men whom he had struck, because of Gedaliah, was the same one that Asa the sovereign had made for fear of Baasha, sovereign of Israel. Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, had filled it with the slain. Then Ishmael took captive all the rest of the people who were in Mizpah, the sovereign daughters, and all the people who were left in Mizpah, whom Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, had entrusted to Gedaliah, son of Ahikam. And Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, took them captive and went to go over the Ammonites. But Johanan, son of Kareath, and all the commanders of the army that were with him heard of all the evil that Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, had done. So they took all the men and went to fight with Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, and they found him by the great pool that is in Gibeon. Verse 13. And it came to be, when all the people who were with Ishmael saw Johanan, son of Kareah, and all the commanders of the army who were with him, that they were glad. And all the people whom Ishmael had taken captive from Mizpah turned around and came back and went to Johanan, son of Kareah. But Ishmael, the son of Nethaniah, escaped from Johanan with 8 men and went to the Ammonites. Then Johanan, son of Kareah, and the commanders of the army that were with him took from Mizpah all the rest of the people whom he had recovered from Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, after he had struck Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, the mighty men of battle, and the women, and the children, and the eunuchs, whom he had brought back from Gibeon. And they set out and dwelt in the lodging place of Kimham, which is near Bethlehem, to go to enter Mitzrayim, because of the Kasdim. For they were afraid of them, because Ishmael, son of Nethaniah, had struck Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, whom the sovereign of Babel had made governor in the land.
Man, I got a bad feeling that this is not going to turn out good for these people.
Ooh, yes.
I don't think Ishmael is going to make it. That is wild.
Scary.
Like, I've read Jeremiah before, but I don't remember this. This is kind of new to me.
It's beautiful how the scripture works like that, though. Sometimes you don't see things yet, maybe because you're not supposed to. And then the second time around is like, hey, look at this that you need to hear right now. I want to show it to you.
Right. But yeah, at the ending of the last chapter, I was just like, oh yeah, just Dude, just trying to start some drama. No, he was not trying to start some drama. He was serious.
As Mike pointed out, seventh day or seventh new moon, first day, Feast of Trumpets.
Yeah, and it seems like those dudes were coming in for a Nazarite vow, I guess, is with their head and beard shaved.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like a Nazarite vow going on there in verse 5.
Right, it's either that or like what he's saying with the trumpets. Maybe they were just coming in with repentance before the Day of Atonement.
Okay.
Since they had their garments torn. But yeah, curious to see how this turns out.
Yeah. Moving on. Warning against going to Egypt. Jeremiah chapter 42. This is Mike's comment. All right. Chapter 42, verse 1. Then all the commanders of the army, and Johanan son of Kareath, and Yezaniah son of Hoshea, and all the people, from the least to the greatest, came near and said to Jeremiah the prophet, We beg you, let our petition be acceptable to you, and pray for us to Yahuwah your Elohim, for all this remnant, for we are few left of many, as your eyes see us. And let Yahuwah your Elohim show us the way in which we should walk, and the word we should do. And Jeremiah the prophet said to them, I have heard. See, I am praying to Yahuwah your Elohim, according to your words. And it shall be that I declare to you all the word Yahuwah answers you. I withhold not a word from you. And they said to Jeremiah, Let Yahuwah be a true and steadfast witness between us. If we do not do according to all the word which Yahuwah your Elohim sends us by you, whether good or evil, let us obey the voice of Yahuwah our Elohim, to whom we send you, in order that it might be well with us when we obey the voice of Yahuwah our Elohim. Verse 7. And after 10 days, it came to be that the word of Yahuwah came to Jeremiah. So he called Johanan, son of Kareah, and all the commanders of the army which were with him, and all the people, from the least even to the greatest. And he said to them, Thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of Israel, to whom you sent me to present your petition before him. If you would indeed stay in this land, then I shall build you and not pull you down, and I shall plant you and not pluck you up, for I have relented of the evil I have done to you. Do not be afraid of the sovereign of Babel, of whom you are afraid. Do not be afraid of him, declares Yahuwah, for I am with you to save you and deliver you from his hand. And I shall show you compassion, so that he has compassion on you, and let you return to your own land. But if you say, We are not staying in this land, and disobey the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim, saying, No, but we are going to the land of Mitzrayim, so that we see no fighting, nor hear a voice of a shofar, nor hunger for bread, and there we shall stay. Verse 15. Then hear the word of Yahuwah, O remnant of Yehuda. Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael. If you indeed set your faces to enter Mitzrayim, and shall go to sojourn there, then it shall be that the sword which you feared overtakes you there in the land of Mitzrayim, and the scarcity of food, of which you were afraid, clings to you there in Mitzrayim, and you die there. And so it shall be with you, all the men who set their faces to go to Mitzrayim, to sojourn there. They shall die by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence. And not one of them shall survive, or escape from the evil I am bringing upon them. For thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, as my displeasure and my wrath have been poured out on the inhabitants of Jerusalem, so shall my wrath be poured out on you when you enter Mitzrayim. And you shall be an oath, and an astonishment, and a curse, and a reproach, and you shall see this place no more. Yahuwah has spoken about you, O remnant of Yehuda. Do not go to Mitzrayim. Know for certain that I have warned you this day. For you have deceived yourselves when you sent me to Yahuwah your Elohim, saying, Pray for us to Yahuwah our Elohim. And according to all that Yahuwah your Elohim says, so declare to us, and we shall do it. So I have declared it to you today, but you have not obeyed the voice of Yahuwah your Elohim in all which he has sent me to you. And now, know for certain that you shall die by the sword, by scarcity of food, and by pestilence in the place where you have desired to go to sojourn. I keep seeing it. If then this, if not then this.
Since you did this, now this is going to happen. But yeah, so the governor who was appointed by the king gets assassinated along with his, what was it, like 10 or 20 people?
Mm-hmm.
And then 80 people came in, and they got most of them, like maybe 10 of them escaped or something, I can't remember. So then the remaining people got together and were like, all right, we're going to get out of Dodge because it's definitely not safe here. And then they meet up with Jeremiah and tell him to pray for them, saying that they're going to do whatever, but their plan is obviously to go down to Egypt. And Jeremiah's like, yeah, it's not going to work out for you.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't seem like they passed the test. I don't know. Maybe the next chapter will tell us something different.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a little breather. I was getting lightheaded there towards the end. You guys are making me read too much today.
You guys.
Oh, I mean, just you.
Right.
Oops. Jeremiah taken to Egypt. Jeremiah chapter 43. And it came to be, when Jermemiah had ended speaking all these words to all the people, all the words of Yahuwah their Elohim, for which Yahuwah their Elohim had sent to them, that Azariah son of Hoshaiah, and Johanan son of Kareah, and all the proud men spoke, saying to Jermemiah, You are speaking a lie. Yahuwah our Elohim has not sent you to say, Do not go to Mitzrayim to sojourn there. For Baruch son of Neriah is moving you against us, to give us into the hand of Kasdim, to put us to death, or exile us to Babel. So Johanan son of Kareah, and all the commanders of the army, and all the people disobeyed the voice of Yahuwah, to stay in the land of Yehuda. And Johanan, son of Kareah, and all the commanders of the army took all the remnant of Yehuda who had returned to dwell in the land of Yehuda from all nations where they had been driven, the men and the women and the children and the sovereign's daughters, and every being whom Nebuzaradan, chief of the guard, had left with Gedaliah, son of Ahikam, son of Shaphan, and Jermemiah the prophet, and Baruch, son of Neriah. So they went to the land of Mitzrayim, for they disobeyed the voice of Yahuwah, and they went as far as Taphanes. And the word of Yahuwah came to Jermemiah and Taphanes, saying, Take large stones in your hand, and you shall hide them before the eyes of the men of Yehuda, in the clay, in the brick courtyard, which is at the entrance to Pharaoh's house in Taphanes. Then you shall say to them, Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Yisrael, See, I am sending, and I shall bring Nebuchadnezzar, the sovereign of Babel, my servant, and I shall set his throne above these stones that I have hidden, and he shall spread his canopy over them. And he shall come and strike the land of Mitzrayim, bringing death to those appointed for death, and captivity to those for captivity, and the sword to those for the sword. And he shall set fire to the houses of the mighty ones of Mitzrayim, and he shall burn them and take them captive. And he shall cover himself with the land of Mitzrayim, as a shepherd puts on his garment, and he shall go out from there in peace. And he shall break the stone pillars of the house of the sun, which were in the land of Mitzrayim, and he shall burn the house of the mighty ones of the Mitzrites with fire. Interesting. You see that, Deezer? S-U-N, capital S.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Just so anybody that's not knowing what I'm talking about or my reference. Maybe that's just one of their temples. You'll see here in Malachi chapter 4, verse 2, but to those of you who fear my name, the Son of Righteousness, capital S, shall arise with healing in his wings, and shall go out and leap for joy like calves from the stall. Just interesting, that's all.
So yeah, I'm not going to say that Egypt is completely innocent, but they're definitely like a third party in this. And they're just kind of getting dragged in.
Enemy
but while we're
combatants.
here, we'll definitely clean the place up a bit.
I don't.
Has God ever told you to go out in the front yard and bury some big rocks?
Beth Shemesh, or the house of the sun, Isaiah 19. In that day 5 cities in the land of Mitzrayim shall speak the language of Canaan, and swear by Yahuwah of hosts. One is called the city of destruction. This is all new to me. Wow. You guys got anything on 43?
No, I think that's good for me.
Don't see anybody commenting in the chat, so yes.
No.
All right. Judgment for idolatry. Jeremiah 44. The word that came to Jeremiah concerning all the Yehudim who were dwelling in the land of Mitzrayim, who were dwelling at Migdol, and at Taphanes, and at Noph, and in the land of Pathros, saying, Thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, you yourselves have seen all the evil that I have brought on Jerusalem and on all the cities of Yehudah. And see, this day they are a ruin, and no one dwells in them, because of their evil which they had done to provoke me, by going to burn incense, by serving other mighty ones, whom they did not know. They nor you, nor your fathers. And I sent to you all my servants, the prophets, rising early and sending them, saying, Please, do not do this abominable matter that I hate. But they did not listen or incline their ear to turn away from the evil, not to burn incense to the other mighty ones. So my wrath and my displeasure were poured out and burned in the cities of Yehudah and in the streets of Jerusalem, and they became a ruin and a wasteland, as it is this day. And now, this is verse 7, and now, thus said Yahuwah, the Elohim of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, why are you doing this great evil against your lives, to cut off from you man and woman, child and infant, from the midst of Yehudah, leaving none to remain? By provoking me with the works of your hands, by burning incense to other mighty ones in the land of Mitzrayim, where you have gone to dwell, to cut yourselves off, and be a curse and a reproach among all the nations of the earth. Have you forgotten the evils of your fathers, and the evils of the sovereigns of Yehudah, and the evils of their wives, and your own evils, and the evils of your wives, which they have done in the land of Yehudah, and in the streets of Jerusalem? To this day they have not been humbled, nor have they feared, nor have they walked in my Torah and in my laws that I set before you and your fathers. Therefore, thus said Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, See, I am setting my face against you for evil and for cutting off all Yehudah. Verse 12. And I shall take the remnant of Yehudah, who have set their faces to go into the land of Mitzrayim, to sojourn there. And they shall all be consumed in the land of Mitzrayim, fall by the sword, consumed by the scarcity of food. From the least to the greatest they shall die, by the sword and by scarcity of food. And they shall be an oath and an astonishment and a curse and a reproach. And I shall punish those dwelling in the land. Oh, wait. Is Mike leaving? Take care, buddy. Good seeing you. Back to verse 13. And I shall punish those dwelling in the land of Mitzrayim, as I have punished Jerusalem, by the sword, by the scarcity of food, and by pestilence. And none of the remnant of Yehudah, who have gone into the land of Mitzrayim, to sojourn there, shall escape or survive, lest they return to the land of Yehudah, to which they are longing to return to dwell there. For they shall not return, except those who escape. Then all the men who knew that their wives had burned incense to other mighty ones, and all the women who stood by, a great assembly, and all the people who dwelt in the land of Mitzrayim, in Pathros, answered Jermemiah, saying, We are not going to listen to you in the matter about which you spoke to us in the name of Yahuwah. But we shall do whatever has gone out of your own mouth, to burn incense to the sovereigness of heavens, and pour out drink offerings to her, as we have done, we and our fathers, our sovereigns and our heads, in the cities of Yehudah and in the streets of Jerusalem. And we had plenty of food, and were well off, and saw no evil. But since we ceased burning incense to the sovereigness of the heavens, and pouring out drink offerings to her, we have lacked all, and have been consumed by the sword, and by scarcity of food. And when we burned incense to the sovereigness of the heavens, and poured out drink offerings to her? Did we make cakes for her to idolize her and pour out drink offerings to her without our husbands? Then Jeremiah spoke to all the people, to the men, and to the women, and to all the people who had given him that answer, saying, As for the incense that you burn in the cities of Yehuda and in the streets of Jerusalem, you and your fathers, your sovereigns, and your heads, and the people of the land, did not Yahuwah remember them? And it came into his heart, and Yahuwah could no longer bear it, because of the evil of your deeds, and because of the abominations which you did. Therefore your land is a ruin, an object of astonishment, a curse, and without an inhabitant, as it is this day, because you have burned incense, and because you have sinned against Yahuwah, and did not obey the voice of Yahuwah, or walk in his Torah, in his laws, or in his witnesses. Therefore this evil did befall you, as at this day. And Jeremiah said to all the people and to all the women, Hear the word of Yahuwah, all Yehuda who are in the land of Mitzrayim. Thus spoke Yahuwah of hosts, the Elohim of Israel, saying, You and your wives have spoken with your mouths, and have filled with your hands, saying, We shall perform our vows that we have made, to burn incense to the sovereigness of the heavens, and pour out drink offerings to her. Then confirm your vows, and perform your vows. Therefore, hear the word of Yahuwah, all Yehuda who are dwelling in the land of Mitzrayim. See, I have sworn by my great name, declares Yahuwah. My name shall no longer be called by the mouth of any man of Yehuda in all the land of Mitzrayim, saying, As the master Yahuwah lives. This must be where they start using Hashim. See,
Yep,
I'm
yep.
watching. Yep. See, I'm watching over them for evil and not for good. And all the men of Yehuda who are in the land of Mitzrayim shall be consumed by the sword and by scarcity of food until they come to an end. And those who escape the sword, few in numbers, shall return home, or shall return from the land of Mitzrayim to the land of Yehuda. All the remnant of Yehuda who came into the land of Mitzrayim to sojourn there shall know whose word is established, mine or theirs. And this is the sign to you, declares Yahuwah, that I am punishing you in this place, so that you know that my words are certainly established against you for evil. Thus said Yahuwah, See, I am giving Pharaoh Hophra, sovereign of Mitzrayim, into the hand of his enemies, into the hand of those who seek his life, as I give Sidkiyahu, sovereign of Yehuda, into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, sovereign of Babel, his enemy who sought his life.
Yeah, not going to turn out well for these guys.
No.
Yeah, I did not know that Jeremiah got taken to Egypt. Like, this is all new to me, even though I've read Jeremiah before. But yeah, I guess it just never clicked.
Didn't click, or you just forgot.
Yep, one or the other.
If your brain's like mine, I forget what I did 5 minutes ago.
It's getting old, I guess.
Which first number was it?
They were really quick to take on the pagan customs. Like, I wonder if they like got something out of the deal. Like, if that was like one of the conditions on them living in Egypt or something was like, oh yeah, you guys can stay here, but you got to worship our gods. You can't be doing your all stuff. You know, or did they get free food for it? Like, I don't know. Like,
What's the catch?
yeah. It just seems like it happens all like really, really fast. I don't know.
I'm with you.
Or maybe they were just used to that kind of lifestyle because of how it already was in Jerusalem. I don't know.
Because it was already kind of a wasteland there, apparently. Yeah, verse 26 here. Capital M, my name shall no longer be called upon by the mouth of any man of Yehuda in the land of Mitzrayim. So if you're a Jew in the land of Egypt, I guess maybe it is applicable to say Hashim.
Right. It's definitely prophecy fulfilled. That's for sure.
This is actually probably a really good stopping point. Save some for next week and then maybe do a midrash afterwards and discuss what we want to do next.
It's fine with me.
Yep, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it. And let's take a peek here. Pick back up in 45. Oh, message to Baruch. Uh-oh. So there's your cliffhanger.
Yeah, definitely a good place to stop then.
So, guys, thank you all for being here. It's been another wonderful day in the Word, and I feel enriched and learned a few things about Jeremiah I didn't know today. I hope that you guys do too. So, Shabbat Shalom, everyone, and we'll see you guys again in a couple of weeks.
Shalom, shalom.